Hey everybody, thanks for checking out the channel. On today's video, I'm going to show you how to install resilient flooring in a staircase. In the video, I'm going to show you how to make a jig to make more accurate cuts. I'm going to show you how to cut the treads and the risers. I'm going to show you how to glue them, including the nosing. And I'm going to give you some pro tips and some pointers at the end of the video, including how you can make your staircase less squeaky. Don't forget to smash. Don't forget to smash the thumbs up. My daughter likes it when I say smash. So when I'm doing demo on a staircase, I like to use my channel locks. I find they work best to take the carpet out. When they install carpet on a staircase, they probably use about 15 packs of staples on every step. So I find the channel locks work best to give them a good pull and to not hurt yourself while you're taking the carpet off. In this part of the video, I'm going around with my channel locks, making sure that there's nothing that's going to get in my way when I'm starting to lay the floor. This means staples, little pieces of thread from the carpet, etc. So I've built this simple jig. It's to measure the angles of each sides of the stringer. The stringer is the diagonal piece on the staircase, so I'll go over that in a second, but I bought these hold downs. I think I got them on Amazon actually. But they come with a hex head, and I've pre-drilled a hole through the piece of wood, and I kind of pounded them in with the hammer just so they wouldn't spin. So I did that on both sides. That one split a little bit, so I made this hole a little bit bigger than this one. That way it wouldn't split again, but it's essentially just holding down this piece of wood. So just this piece slides in, and it'll hold it down in place. Once it's tight, it won't move as easy. But so the idea is to get the angles exactly and transfer my measurements or my angles to the piece of flooring that I'm going to put on the tread. So let's go over it, and I can show you how to use it. Something we should go over before I get cutting here is the nosings. So the nosings are going to go on like that, and what we want to find out is what depth we want these treads to be at. So you want to make sure this is fairly well supported. You don't want to end the flooring, back here and leave this unsupported. So you want to get as close as you can to the front edge of the nosing. So over here, 9" looks good, and 9" looks good here too. So we're going to cut our steps at 9 inches deep. And what you're going to want to do is just get this jig in there, and you want to back this nut off. So I want to make sure that it's pushed up against that wall and this side. So this side here, well, you can see, so I've ripped this on the table saw so it's straight. You can see that there's a bit of a gap here. It's about a heavy 1/16 of an inch. And at the back, I've got maybe a 32nd of an inch, and it's tight in the middle. So my stringer, this is the stringer. We got the tread and the riser. My stringer is bowed a little bit, so I'm going to kind of split the difference on this here. My nosing here, my piece that's going to cover the front edge, is going to come out to about here. So it's going to cover the majority of this. I'm not too concerned about it. And then there's this one here. So that one turned out pretty nice. Carefully pull it out. Make sure it's nice and tight. And nice and easy. Just lift it out. And of course I've got this piece here, so that's going to cause me some problems. So I'm going to try to pull it out nice and easy, which probably isn't going to work. So I've got a piece of my flooring. So I'm going to back this off. And I'm going to just use it as like a spacer. So we'll make sure we're tight on that side, tight there, and tight here. And we'll tighten it all together. And then when I lift, there we go. I should be able to just try to remove it nice and easy. And I'll just put it back just for fun to see if we've kept, yeah, and that's nice and square. So what I will do, put a note here, riser over here. So that way I know when I transfer my marks, I'll be transferring to the right spot. So we'll lift this off. Let's get a piece of flooring. All right, we've got our 2 pieces of resilient flooring, and the next step is going to be gluing 2 of these together. So we're going to have glue 2 pieces front to back, just like this. There we go, we've got one nice big piece. With the steps, we're going to want to cut off this back lip. So otherwise it'll collapse over time. This piece back here, we're going to take our Olfa knife. Let's cut this piece off. We got a nice straight back edge, and it doesn't have any thin spots, so that we don't have to worry about this rolling over time, because, you know, stairs get a bit of traffic. That's the idea. This is going to be our back. The trick is, on the first pass, you'll score lightly. I'm just going to get my line straight. So I'm kind of making sure that my blade is touching here, and I'm just going to ride it nice and light. So that's our finished right side. So now we're going to take our jig again, and always, you know, try not to bump it around as I just did. Keep it nice and straight, and so I'm just trying to square it back up on this side here. So that looks good. And then I'm going to put some pressure right here, and I'm going to rotate my jig that way. You can't see it yet, but I'll show you. And I'm trying to rotate so that my other piece of wood, my other blocking on the other side, is squared up. So I'll show you. This is not necessarily square, this piece. So we're short. We're going to be short. If I just cut it to this width, it's going to be narrow by this width. So we got to add this, just get it right where it needs to be. And then I'm going to put some pressure on the flooring and on my square. Move the jig, and again, same process, nice and easy. So we said 9 inches, and this front edge is going to be mainly covered, so it's not as critical as the rest, but you still want to get it fairly accurate. So I've got my mark here, and I'm going to go ahead and just scribe the mark here, scribe a straight line. So there's one step. Let's go fit them in. So you've got that side there, and that side there. So we're nice and tight. All right, so now we're going to cut our risers. And this piece, this stair nosing, is going to go right here. So we've got some coverage on the bottom here, but we're going to go above it anyway. So we're going to go, it's about 7 inches to the underside, so we'll go 6.5. And 6.5 will get us, it'll get us above this bottom flange here. So we're going to do the same thing as we did with the treads. Our pieces of pine that were up against the stringers are now going to be cut and shortened a little bit to fit right here. So 6 and 6.5. Make sure you're tight on the one side and then tight on the other. We're going to see if we can do without that little filler piece. I'm tight on the floor on both sides, and it's tight there, tight here, and let's see if we can get it out. Oh yeah, no problem. Perfect. So let's cut a riser. Steps in, that looks pretty good. I've got a gap here, and I've got no gap here, so it's tight on the ends. When I go to glue it, I'm going to leave the glue a little thicker in the middle, and I'll make sure not to squish it right down. And any little difference, I can put some clear silicone on it to clean it up. Alright, so the way we're going to do this is we're going to use some PL Premium. It's just a general purpose construction adhesive. You don't want to put it on thick, just a nice thin bead. So I did 4 rows of glue here, and the reason why I left gaps is to allow for air movement, because I am vinyl on vinyl, so I'm worried about the PL curing, but because I've allowed some air movement, it'll cure no problem. So that's step 1. Step 2, make sure you put the right edge towards the back. You're probably going to want to start not in the middle, but I'm doing that for you guys just because that one the video is a little better. And then with the riser, you do the same thing. So just a nice thin bead, pop your riser on, same thing. You got a nice squish, make sure it's all in contact with the glue. There you go. So last but not least, the nosing. So these are black rubber nosing. They're pretty cheap. They're $2-3 a piece at Home Depot. Another carpenter's secret is to measure from both sides. If you go to measure from left to right, let's say, and you're trying to get that inside measurement, the inside of the measuring tape is it's hard to read. What you do is you take this and you mark 10. And you can measure from the other side to that mark. And I've got 23 and 5/16 to the mark, which means that I've got 33 and 5/16 to the wall. Then I transfer this, 33. Alright, so I've got a regular wood cutting blade on this saw. And you're going to want to cut into the material because you'll get a bit of tear out if you don't with this rubber. It's also going to want to grab a little bit, so keep your fingers away as usual, but more so now than any other time. So this is my finished surface. I'm going to want the blade to rotate like this, so that way I can cut. You want the blade to push down on this, and then you'll get the tear out maybe on the bottom, which is not as bad as the top edge. We'll measure them out and we'll cut them. I'm going to try open it up a little bit so it doesn't, because they tend to want to push away from the stair. So I'm just going to go like that. That's perfect. And for these, you can see a bit of the existing white tread, but we're just going to give that a shot of black paint, and that'll disappear. So let's put this guy on. He's ready. And you don't want to put too much on these because it'll smear out the edge, and then you're just going to have a big mess to clean up. So make sure you get good contact towards the middle, and for good measure I'm going to put a small bead on the face too. If I come back in 20 minutes, this thing's going to have slid that way. So I'm going to get some painter's tape. And I'm going to put it right between the nosing and the tread, and I'm just going to make sure it's nice and stuck down. So rub it in there, and that's it. I put some painter's tape on the face of my measuring tape. I just take notes on it. If your blade's getting dull and you see you've got these little snap lines here, there's one there, and there's one here, one there. So what you do is I've got my knife kind of on one of the lines, or just about. You take your knife and you press down on it, and I push down on it just so the blade doesn't go flying, and that's it. And they snap. So you've got a little blade, an offcut. So then you've got a nice sharp new blade. I'm fortunate enough to have access to the underside of my staircase. So there's the steps, there's a shelf, but there's some more steps. I find the stairs a little squeaky, so I'm going to take some of this PL Premium and I'm going to put a bead right in this joint here. And what I'm hoping that'll do is it'll grab the riser and it'll attach it a little better to the tread. It'll keep things from shaking around, so I'm gonna do that to all of them. Little bonus.